Okay, so we have Joseph Shaw here from Rita Shaw and Associates.
Hello, everybody.
We're very grateful and thankful that you came today.
Good to be here.
I'll tell a little bit about you.
Sure.
Licensed in 2014, but you started working full-time about the last 3 years.
Yeah, I came back about 3 years ago.
Okay. Closed $32 million in personal production in 2023.
Mm-hmm.
Very impressive. And then you brokered $62 million in production in your office with about 7 agents.
That's correct, yeah.
Okay, and you are the sole owner now of Rita Shaw and Associates.
I'm it. She's still around, but she's not working anymore. So.
She handed it over. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get started. I always like to start our interviews and ask, what did you do before you got into real estate?
So I actually was in the Air Force for 6 years. So I was an intelligence officer. I worked in cyber. I did some things in missile defense, and I did a little bit in a field called force protection, which is basically protecting assets overseas. So did 6 years of that, and then I came back to Redlands to buy out our family business.
So that was the intention when you came back. You're like, this
yeah,
is
I loved the Air Force. It was killer. I really enjoyed my job, but I had the opportunity to buy my mom out. She said, I'm going to sell it to you, or I'm going to package and sell. I said, well, I'm dumb, but I'm not stupid, so I'll get out and buy you out.
So that's what made you want to get into real estate. So
yeah, well, I loved it growing up.
I was going to say,
around it. Yeah,
you're a little bit unique because I kind of want to take it back a little bit further. So your mom is Rita Shaw.
Yep.
And so was it really just like your whole life?
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah. So my mom, back in the day, she managed the big Coldwell office up in Arrowhead when it was like one of the #1 Coldwell offices in the United States. And then she went independent when we moved to Redlands when I was 12. She opened up her own shop, and she did kind of onesie-twosies, just kind of did her own deals. Rita's actually a licensed general contractor, so she was not flipping homes, but doing like high-end remodels. And as she got older, she's like, I don't want to swing hammers anymore. So she got back into sales full-time, probably about 10, maybe 11 years ago. So yeah, family business. Definitely a family business.
So when you were young, did you help in any way before? I mean, technically you can't if you're not licensed, but were you there answering phones? Were you doing anything in the
No,
office?
I was working on properties because my parents would purchase and renovate properties. So I got a lot of experience, understanding properties because my mom's she's a licensed GC, right? So I'd be at her job sites working for her. Well, she would say, earning my inheritance. So I'm getting paid, but I was there. So I
was going to say, so you weren't getting paid.
I learned a lot about properties, and I learned a lot about how homes work and how systems on homes work. And I'm not a licensed general contractor, but I feel like that's helped a lot today because I have a fairly thorough understanding of things in properties when I talk to clients.
So do you think that's something you might want to do eventually?
I don't think so, no. I don't think I want a contractor's license.
No? Okay, that's too many hats.
I own my own rentals. I have rental properties, and I like to do things myself, but I shouldn't do things myself. I should sell real estate because I make money selling real estate, and I lose money when I do it myself and I have to pay someone to fix it a month later.
Yes, yeah. That's true. I feel like that's all of our battles is like, what can we outsource, and then what can we actually spend our time on that's making money?
Totally.
So, okay, so what age would you say you got into real estate where you're like, this is what I'm doing?
Yeah, so I got my license when the way it works in a lot of the military training programs is you'll commission and it's like, congratulations, but we can't send you to training for like a year. So I knew I was going to have a year lull between graduating with my undergrad and then going into the Air Force active duty. Okay. So I got my real estate license my last semester of college. I was like, I kind of want to give this a try. So I sold full time the year I was waiting, and I really liked it. And that's when I was like, ooh, I could totally do this as a career someday.
So was that in 2014?
That would have, 2014.
Okay, so that's interesting. So you sold full time for
a year, for 10 months, yeah.
Okay, and then you're like, put that on hold.
Yeah, I had an active duty service commitment because they had paid for all my college. Okay. So I had to go. Yeah, right. I loved it, but I had to go technically.
So I like to ask this too because what do you think with your current business now have you taken away from the military and things like that where you're able to apply that here?
Structure, organizational leadership, right? Essentially what I did in the Air Force is really mid-level management is really what I did. That's what a company grade officer does, manages teams of people. So we have a very tight team structure. So yeah, people would say it's I don't think it's that disciplined. I don't think it's that organized. But people from the outside, it looks disciplined and organized. And
most of us are not disciplined and organized.
It's hard. Yeah, easier said than done, right?
No, yeah. Yeah, I know. So I think we're always like looking out for the person who brings the structure. Yeah. Because by nature, most of us don't like that. Yeah. So I feel like that's a huge leg up there that you have that. You have that experience.
Our shop is very, very structured, like how we run our schedules.
We're going to talk about that. I'm gonna come back to that.
Yeah, totally.
Because I do want to ask. We need structure. So how did you do? And you said your first. We'll talk about I guess both transitions. So in 2014, you said you did very well. How well is very well?
Not super well. I probably closed 7 or 8 houses, but I didn't have to generate leads because I was just working under my mom's book of business. So, okay. I mean, I was paying her for the leads basically. So real estate's a lot easier when you don't have to generate leads. So
like 7 or 8 houses for your first year, even if you're given leads, because you still have to talk to the people, close the leads. So
I was pretty motivated.
Yeah,
I was like, I want to actually sell some houses. So
I feel like that's impressive. I feel like a lot of us struggle probably in our first year with that.
For sure, real estate's tough.
What do you say? What do you do? So so let's talk about this. So you kind of like alluded to it. Your first lead gen would be your mom's leads.
Yeah, obviously.
Okay.
Yeah. And then friends and family, right? So I come back to Redlands and I just started calling everybody I knew. Like, hey, I'm moving back. I'm selling real estate again. You know, needs to buy or sell a house. And when you call people and ask them for business, shocking, sometimes they will give you business. So, oh, I'm so glad you're back. I thought you moved. I thought you were in Nebraska or something. My brother actually needs to buy a house.
That's
amazing. I think I can do that. Yeah.
So really, I'm always curious about this too. Okay, so you really did pick up the phone and be like,
yes.
"Hi, I'm back, and I'm ready to do real estate."
Not as much as I should have. I would have sold more houses if I did more of it. Yeah.
Okay, I think we all struggle with that a little bit.
Yeah, it's super hard asking for business, but you have to. You have to be desperate. So.
Okay, and like you said, you're motivated. So when did you see? So now you came back over the last 3 years. So what year would you say you're like, okay, gung ho, I'm gonna do this?
I mean, honestly, when I first came back 3 years ago, because I was transitioning out of, the Department of Defense, it's like a government job, right? So you have a real steady paycheck and you've got great benefits. And if you do 20 years, you get a great pension, right? And when I said, I'm going to give all that up to go be an entrepreneur, that's when I really was like, started diving in, had, feet first.
So like 2021?
Yeah, 21, really.
So in 2021, you came back, you made your calls, you said, hey, I'm back. And then that, like you said, that worked. But what did you do where you're like, we really saw the business grow?
Yeah. So for like personal production, I guess is probably the best thing to talk about.
I think both.
Yeah. So if anyone here was selling in 21, kind of the fake years, right? There was, market was stupid hot, right? Like, so I came back. Yeah.
Yes.
And like the phone just rang because we had a big book and I just answered the phone.
Yeah.
Oh, you want to sell? Yeah, I can sell your house. What do you need? Oh, yeah, I'll be there tomorrow. Like, what do you, so
I'm writing down answered the phone.
Right. Right. Answered the phone. No, so I came back at a super unique time because it was a time when the market was super hot and people were buying and selling. Buyers were out and the rates were still low. So I'm like, wow, this is kind of easy, right? It's just, the business is here. I just got to get it. But I think when my mom fully retired, which was technically about 1.5 years ago, I bought her out 6 months ago. That's when it was a big like, oh, I got to take this really seriously. Because while she had a big book of business and a pretty loyal following, people don't really, some of our clients think it's cool that I'm her son and that's great, but a lot of them, like, I don't know if you know this, your average client has 5 realtors programmed in their phone. So I think it was kind of a wake-up call because all of a sudden houses that we sold a few years ago, I'd be driving, whose sign is that in the yard? Like, I thought that was our client, right? So I think it was a big wake-up call when she retired and I realized, oh, I have to actually aggressively pursue our past client retention database and book of business.
And that's a good call. That's kind of an easy call to make too. Not easy, but at least it's a good reason to call someone to say, hey, my mom retired. I'm now stepping in.
Yeah.
So is that kind of what you guys worked on?
Yeah, I called a lot of clients. Every single client I work in our database got a letter from us explaining what was happening. And I call people after the letters go out. So it's like, hey, just want to give you a heads up. So.
Okay. Sorry, I'm writing that down.
No, totally.
I like that. Yeah, because the follow-up there. So obviously I have, I asked you the question, what person helped you, but we know your mom helped you.
Totally, yeah, tons. Yeah.
But I do want to kind of ask you a little bit more about that. Was that something that she always was like, you're going to do this? Or what was kind of the dynamic with that?
My mom, so I have three of us, so 2 brothers. My mom's thing was always, both my parents, if you do whatever you want to do, but be the best at it, right? If you want to be a realtor, be the best realtor. If you want to drive trucks, be the best truck driver. If you want to be an engineer, be the best engineer, right? So I never got any pressure from my parents to come into the business. Both my brothers, way too smart for it, right? We don't want to do that for a living. Kidding, right? We're all realtors, I can make the joke. So they had 0 interest. I was the one who actually liked it, but I love sales. So like for me, it was like, this is great. I like sales and we have an existing book of business. Why wouldn't I do this?
You like sales?
Love sales, yeah.
What about sales were you like, I like that?
Here's what I like about real estate sales. Real estate sales, in my opinion, is one of the only industries where the only thing you sell is yourself, right? Like once I've sold myself to a client and they're happy working with me as a buyer's agent or listing their house with me, everything else is just our 9 to 5, right? It's just what we do every day. I just have to sell myself versus like if you're a car salesman, for example, and there's nothing wrong with being a car salesman, but like well, if I walk onto the Redlands Ken Grady Ford lot and I don't buy the Mustang he has on the lot, right? it's gone. It's done, right? Because I'm going to go to another, right? But if I take you to a house and I show you the house and you don't like that house, it doesn't matter if you don't buy that house. I will sell you another house, right? I'm only selling myself.
You're selling yourself.
And that's what I like about real estate.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't thought about it like that.
Yeah, you are the business.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
That's true. So, so like we said, you called past clients and things like that. I wanted to ask you, because you had your strong book of business already, and like you said, because you're selling yourself, what exactly are you doing to now continue that marketing, continue reaching out to your sphere, things like that?
So in my perfect world, for the record, my mom sold a lot of houses, but she wasn't organized about her book of business, right? So guess what CRM Rita Shaw used?
Her book? Okay.
This doesn't work that way. I mean, she's got a really sharp mind, but I can't do that. Her phone, and she'll tell you this, it's not insult. My mom sold 100 houses a year. This isn't an insult to her, but 2 sticky notes. These are the people I have working on buyers. These are the people I have working on sellers. She had her 2 sticky notes, right? So it wasn't organized. So a big part of it was just getting it organized.
Okay.
And then in my perfect world, I have a 400-person database that I work very consistently and very regularly. So we have more people in the database, but when your database gets to a point where you're not really making client contacts anymore, you kind of lose the personal touch and they're not really going anywhere. It's my opinion.
Okay. That's interesting. 400 people. Some people have 2,000. Some people have.
Yeah, I probably have 4,800 in our follow-up bus, but I don't call 4,800 people twice a year. It's not, right?
Just this once. Go ahead, Kathy. No, you're okay. All right, fine.
And that's what I was going to say, because a lot of us have like 3,000 in our database.
Yeah.
How do you determine who those 400 are?
I was going to ask that question, so that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead.
For the record, I haven't done it yet. I'm working on it. I've probably got about 700 right now. If someone won't call you back 3-4 times, they're not, right? They're not. How loyal are they that loyal of a client if you worked really hard for them a couple of years ago and they won't even return a phone call? Probably not, right? I mean, you might keep them on your mailer or something, but for me, it's this question. I could get like way too in depth on this. I got to be really careful. But yeah, people you want to do business with. I think that's what I start with. Yeah.
So that's kind of, you have your sphere. We all have our sphere.
Yeah.
But sometimes even people in our sphere don't answer, don't call back, don't refer you business.
Yeah, super fun.
Yeah, we have those people, family and friends sometimes. Yeah. So with those people, like you said, those maybe are staying on a mailing list, but maybe you're not leaning so much into everything else with them.
Yeah, I can tell you how I break down my lead database.
Please,
if you want to know.
Please,
so
please, yeah.
We track our leads every month. Christina's my business partner. Christina, how many warm leads do we need every month? What's our current goal? New goal. We just set a new one. So 30. Yeah, thank you. So we target 30 warm leads a month. Okay. My perfect model is 40% of my leads come from a VIP list I have. My VIP list should be at 40. It's at about 32. They're on my VIP list. They send me at least 2 warm referrals a year. I ask these people for business. They don't just send me business. I call and I say, hey, Jackie, I haven't talked to you in a while. How's everything going at whatever? Hey, do you know anyone looking to buy or sell? We haven't quite hit our targets yet for the year. I'm looking for some more clients.
Okay.
So I ask aggressively, and these are people I do life with, right? You know, my CPA is on my list, right? We trade a lot of business. I have really good friends who are on my list, right? Connectors are on my list. So we all have friends that are connectors. So your friend that you go to church with or someone who knows like literally everybody, they should be on your VIP list. That's 40% of my business target. It's not always, but I make it sound really good because I'm in sales, so I'm trying to sell myself, but the reality is I don't always hit these targets, okay? Yeah. The next 40% is database. So that's past client referrals, current client referrals, right? If I'm doing a transaction with you, I'm asking you for business during the transaction, which is easier said than done, but current client referrals. And then about 20%, in the perfect world, about 20% of our business comes from ad spend or sign calls. Anything that's not current client database or VIP is 20% of the business in the perfect world.
I'm going to break this down a little bit.
Yeah.
Let's go back to your VIPs.
Sure.
These people have already kind of proven themselves to you a little bit.
Yeah.
How are you touching those people other than just calling for the business?
I take very good care of my VIPs.
Okay, tell me
about that. If you're on my
VIP
list, you call, everybody knows if someone's on our VIP list, you call the office, you talk to anyone on my team. What do they need? Do it now, right? And it can be, my mom is on my VIP list, right? She sends me referrals still, right? So that's 2. Basically, yeah, I gift my VIPs really well, right? They're getting calls on their birthdays, they're getting presents. I host events, so I host happy hour networking mixer events. So people who send me business get invited to these events. Most of my VIPs are business owners or business people. So what is the best way to show your gratitude to a business person you do business with? Any guesses?
Send them business.
Send them business, right? So I send them referrals, right? And I make sure that when the client calls the person, hey, when you call so-and-so, could you do me a favor? Could you please let them know I sent them your way, right? So I show them not only are you don't just want to take. No one wants that. You have to give too.
Of course.
So
yeah. So can you kind of give me an idea about the different businesses you work with? I mean, you don't have to tell me the business names, but like the types of businesses they are.
Yeah. So like I've got a great CPA, right? He's a good family friend. I spend time, I do life with my CPA and his whole family. It's not like I just do business with him, but he's a person who meets a lot of people who need to sell houses. He's probably my number 2 VIP.
Okay. Right. And you got a CPA. I imagine you probably have a good contractor.
Yep. Good GCs. Got a few of those. So
what about I always try to get like more ideas in this field because we all know those too, but like
yeah,
lawyers maybe.
Yeah. Attorneys, if you're good at it, attorneys are tough. You got to be really good at, you got to really know what you're talking about if you're going to try to chase attorneys. Because if you walk into an attorney's office, you don't know what you're talking about. They don't want to talk to you. So
100%.
Attorneys are good. But and it's just people I do a lot of networking. So it's people I meet through networking.
Interesting. So, okay. So those people, like you said, calls on birthdays.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure you probably do home anniversary, things like that.
That's the easiest way to call your past clients twice a year. Call them on their birthday, call them on their home anniversary. It's not weird if you call your client on their home anniversary, right? And it's not weird if you call them on their birthday. It's why are you calling me? It's your birthday. Happy birthday. Oh yeah, thanks. Appreciate that. No one called me today.
Yeah, it's all Facebook. Yeah. Okay. So now let's go to your database. Okay. So these are not your VIPs, but this is, like you said, friends, family, people that maybe don't send you a ton of business.
Yeah.
How are you staying in touch with those people?
The goal, Christina will laugh at this because she knows we don't actually do this, but the goal is to call every past client. Right? It sounds great. It's just not what happens. The goal is to call every past client twice a year, right? So I try to give 2 past client touches a year to every single past client. So I call them on their birthday. I call them on their home anniversary, right? So they hear from me twice a year, and we send quite a bit of mail out.
Okay.
So, but I don't send, there's 2 types of mail we send. We send letter of the heart. So I send a letter every other month. It just talks about what's happening in me and Rachel's life, my wife. More of a personal letter. There's always an ask at the bottom. Also, who do you know who needs real estate services this year, right? And then we also send postcards called Evidence of Success, which we haven't started doing yet this year, but we're going to because we're behind.
Okay.
And that's just a quick snap they get in the mail. Hey, here's this cool story about this thing we did for this client. Who can we help? Who needs help like this? Who needs this caliber of service?
Can I go back? I'm sorry. So you do letter of the heart, like you say twice yearly?
Ideally, I send, how many are supposed to do a year? 4? Yeah, I'm looking at Christina for all my answers. Yeah, ideally they get 4 pieces of mail from me a year, 4 letters. I'm not actually hand signing these. I use a mail service.
Okay.
But it's it's got pictures of me, my wife, and my dog, and it talks about what's happening. Just so they don't forget I exist, basically.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then do you guys do emails, anything like that?
I don't do a lot of email blasts.
Okay.
I'm very focused on relationship-based business that feels very personal, right? I want people to feel like they have a relationship with me in business. Emails are okay, but I prefer phone calls and hard mail.
Okay.
Emails are cheaper and they're easier.
That's true. Well, and they kind of stack up, or they go to a junk mail or things like that. So
yeah, how many of you have like 40 emails in your inbox right now?
I know. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, TC over here. You probably got 400 emails in your inbox.
So
yeah,
just go click through them as soon as they come. Good for you.
Yeah.
Okay, so we, phone calls. How about text messages?
I will text clients who don't call.
Okay.
So I will always call clients, and then if they don't call, I will text, but I try to make the text personal. And I'm doing this, it's all in Follow Up Boss. I'm on my CRM. I'm not like physically thumbing this out, right? Just, hey, Jackie, hope you're well. Just called to touch base. It's been 3 years since you bought your house. That's super awesome. Let us know if you need anything.
Okay. I like that.
Yeah.
And then if someone said, do you have anybody ever reach out and say, I do need something
Yeah,
other than real estate?
Totally.
So
all the time.
So then so then you're able to refer business that way.
And you got to ask questions, right? Like, how's everything going? I heard you guys have a kid. Congratulations. How old is Billy now? 6 months? Oh my God, that's awesome. Who's doing your living trust?
Yep.
You don't have a living trust? Are you serious?
Mm-hmm.
Let me refer you to one of my attorneys. You have to have a living trust, guys. This is huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good one too.
Just referred business to one of my VIPs.
Love it. That's a good idea. Mm-hmm. Living trust, I think, is something that we're all trying to get better at.
Yeah.
Referring and making sure, we're offering that service.
I don't have one, but I don't have kids. So.
Your house has to go somewhere.
My wife will get it, I think. So.
Okay, so let's talk about what your day looks like. A day in the life. So when what time do you start your day?
Yeah, fairly structured. So you want the whole day, right? So I typically get up. My wife is up stupid early. She's like 4:45 or 5. Good for her.
That's
I'm more of like a 5:36, right? We are in the office usually by about 7:45. So And our structure is a little different. So I have a direct team, my business partner, Christina, and we have a transaction coordinator who's also named Christina. So if you ever do a deal with us and you're like, who are these Christinas? There are two of them.
That's what you just hired Christinas.
Yeah, so the Christinas and I are, every morning we are on a call at 8:30 a.m.
Okay.
Yeah, so we get on a call every morning. Very first thing we do in our calls, we go through that lead tracker. Every single morning we go through the lead tracker. We talk through the leads, what's going on with these leads, who's contacting these leads today, right? My three number one goals are vision, leads, and leadership. That's my priorities during the day, right? Christina focuses more on the operational aspects of a transaction, and then the other Christina focuses more on the admin side and the paperwork.
Okay.
So at that 8:30 call, we go through our lead tracker. After we go through our lead tracker, we pull up the transaction spreadsheet. We go through every single transaction, right? We're making sure that contingencies are removed on time, what's in the red. And a lot of this is just, what do we need to do today?
Yes.
So we get through our to-do list, and then before the meeting ends, everybody knows what they're supposed to do. You don't need a team to have a meeting, by the way. If you don't have a team, you have a meeting with yourself.
You meet with
just 8 a.m, check your log. Yeah.
So from that time, so you'd say maybe 8:30 to about what time are you guys
9.
just planning your day?
Yeah, it's like 9:15 maybe. So in my perfect world, same thing. Anyone who works in our office will laugh at this. This is not what happens. But in my perfect world, my calendar is red time, green time, and yellow time.
Okay.
So red time is things I have to do, right? Most of the things we do during a transaction, you don't make any money, right? You don't make money scheduling a home inspection, right? You make money prospecting business, okay? So the red time is I try to get most of that done before like lunch-ish, right? This is emails to contractors, arguing whatever, negotiating contracts, red time. And in my perfect world, the whole afternoon is pretty much green time. And green time is anything from calling leads, calling prospects, right? It could be door knocking, whatever. Taking clients to lunch, right? Taking clients out to coffee, going to networking events. That's all green time. Things where I'm in front of people, meeting people.
Okay.
And in my perfect world, I have green time for a minimum of 2 to 4 hours a day.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to kind of start your green time 9:30ish, or is that more afternoon?
Yeah, and I vary it, right? So like I do, like tomorrow's Thursday, right? So I've got a Bible study I do on Thursday mornings from 7 to 8. Right, that's definitely green time, right? I like it, I enjoy it, I'm there for other reasons, but I'm spending time with people in community, right? I'm networking while I'm there.
Right.
I've got a luncheon from 12 to 1, that's green time. I go to a CrossFit gym, I try to go 3 days a week. Don't ask Christina how often I actually go, but I try to go 3 days a week, right? I intentionally work out at a gym where I'm working out with other people and talking to people. 1, because I like it, and 2, because it's networking, it's green time, right? So that all counts as green time.
And then yellow time is downtime,
I'm
family
home.
time.
Yeah, just not, I usually don't answer my phone after like 6:37.
Okay. I like that idea.
Yeah.
It's easier said than done, but.
If you tell clients, it's easier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you set that expectation.
Jackie, I'm looking forward to working with you. Just so you're aware, my working hours are 8 to 5, Monday through Friday. I can take an evening call if you need to. Just let me know. Okay. And I do work weekends by appointment as needed.
Perfect. And then I'm sure you can glance at emails or something if need be. Okay.
Yeah, if they need to. But if you tell them when you're working, they don't call you when you're not working. That's what I found out, right?
Well, it's too, because sometimes most of the time they're like, this is a problem. Well, escrow's closed.
Yeah.
Title's closed. They're not open anyway.
Yeah.
So it's like, I feel like a lot of us are doing a lot of work that we don't need to be doing because it can't be done anyway.
And I totally do. And I'm guilty of this. It's not like every night I go home and don't answer my phone. That would be a big fat lie. But it's easier if you tell the client when you work. Because if people don't, they just assume, well, he's a realtor. He must work at 9 o'clock at night, like, right? But the first time you answer the phone at 9 o'clock at night for that client, game over. You lost them.
I agree. Yeah. Or now they're like, oh, cool, I can just call her at 9 o'clock at night all the time.
Yeah, totally.
Like, no.
That's totally what I want to do at 9 o'clock at night. I want to be on the phone with clients.
Yeah. So. I'm like, no, thank you.
And I like most of my clients. It's just I don't want to do that at 9 o'clock at night.
Yeah. Okay. So I like that because I hear different things from different agents. Some agents say if somebody texts them at midnight, they're calling them at midnight. And they're returning that call. So
yeah,
I think it's different for everyone, but I'm glad to hear that not everyone does that.
Yeah, and I think I don't take it for granted. I'm at a position because of the fact that I bought the business and I've been building up more business. I kind of have the flexibility to do that. I think when you're newer, it's harder, right? Because if you're newer and you have 2 real leads and that lead needs to call you at 9 o'clock at night, what are you going to do? Be like, sorry, I'm not talking to you. My shows are on. Like, no, you're going to talk to the client, right?
Right.
And I do sometimes, right? And I have a lot of my clients, people I'm like friends with who are my good clients. If they call me, like one of my best friends, I'm helping them buy a house. Like, yeah, I'm going to take the call at 9 o'clock at night.
Right.
I like talking to them.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
Okay. So we talked about your morning routine and we talked about what your day looks like. So you're calling clients. I kind of wanted to, this is not part of our questions, but I want to go off book a little bit here.
Ooh, okay, off book.
Okay.
Right.
So you're calling clients And you know, like you said, you're trying to stay in front of them. Do you have any phrases, words, things like that I feel like would help a newer agent jump forward a little bit?
I think people you sold a house to is easier.
Okay.
If you sold them a house a couple years ago, they have a lot of equity in their property. So, Jackie, how are you? Good to see you. How's everything going at the place?
It's going great.
Hey, I don't know if you know this, but today marks 3 years since you purchased 123 Main Street. Congratulations.
Thank you.
How are you guys going to celebrate?
We're gonna probably not do anything, and
okay,
and just I didn't realize it was our anniversary.
Yeah, no, I track this stuff. It's super cool. You guys have been there 3 years now. Do you realize how much equity you have in this house?
No, I mean I know it's probably gone up a little bit, but I didn't think it'd gone up that much.
I'm looking at your home bar right now. You have $240,000 in equity in this house. Can you believe that?
Wow.
You've made $240,000 in 3 years just by owning a house.
That's amazing.
Are you? How's everything going? I heard you guys are having another kid. Are you planning on staying here much longer?
Well, you know, the interest rates are crazy, so we do need to move. We do need a bigger house. But...
Okay. Well, let's do this. I don't think, it might not be the right time, but why don't I swing by? I want to see what you guys have done to the place. Okay. Can I come by next Thursday about 2, 3 o'clock and we can talk about your numbers and see if maybe it makes sense to move? It might not, but I think it's worth exploring.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, sounds good.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if we want to move right now, but it couldn't hurt to look at it.
Yeah, definitely. And honestly, I'd be nice to see you guys. I got a little gift I want to bring you, so congratulations. And I'd love to take a look at your place and see what you've done.
Awesome. Okay. Well, cool. Thank you for calling.
Yeah, definitely. We'll see you on Thursday.
Thank you. Okay, so that's interesting. So you have a reason to call.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that you're like, I was gonna stop by anyway. I had a gift for you.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
better actually have a gift if you say.
I was gonna say. Well, I wanted to ask you about that too. That's another I hear from agents too is they have gifts or things that they stop by with. Is there anything that I think what I struggle with that, and I think some of us too, is like, what do you bring? What do you give? What's easy to have on hand, but not?
Well, they weren't expecting a gift, right?
Right.
So you can bring pretty much anything, and they're going to be happy. I buy people things I like.
Okay.
I like In-N-Out.
Okay.
I buy a lot of
In-N-Out gift cards. Okay.
Does anyone here not like In-N-Out? Is that
everybody
one
likes
hand,
In-N-Out?
Right? So yeah.
I'm writing it down. I like that idea because sometimes it's like, what are you bringing? So if it's baked goods, then you got to go get the baked goods.
And I don't always bring a gift.
Okay. But if you told them you're bringing a gift.
Oh yeah, I'll bring them something. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I was also curious about this. Do you find that you're helping more buyers or more sellers?
I work predominantly with sellers.
But you do have other agents in the office, so I assume you're probably making sure they're handling your buyers. Yeah,
so my structure is a little different. So Christina's a partner role with me, and Christina does most of the legwork with the buyers. So we've been doing buyer consults forever. I know we all have to do them now with the rules, but we've been doing them for a long time. So if you call me and you want to buy a house, you come into the office, we sit down. I have a meeting with you in the office. You have me face to face, we talk, right? Christina is very good at her job and she's very confident with buyers. I have full confidence that she will take great care of any buyer client who comes in the office. Okay. So she's doing most of the actual home showing.
Okay.
Although I kind of like showing homes, kind of fun, but she's doing most of the home showing. And then when it comes time to contract and negotiation, she usually opens it up. And then I step in when it's like, okay, we need to figure out how to negotiate this contract. Or I'll make the phone call if it's an agent I know, for example, just to let them know, hey, this is me you're working with. And then she actually handles most of the operations of the transaction, but I do contact the client every single week.
Oh, you do?
Absolutely, yeah.
So
if we're in escrow, they hear from me every single week.
And then Christina as well?
I call them on Tuesday, and I update them every Tuesday. Christina will typically call them, or our other Christina will contact them like, hey, earnest money receipt came in, here's the email. But every client I work with knows they're going to get a call from me every single Tuesday.
I'm writing that down.
Yeah, and then guess what? Your clients aren't confused. What's the number one complaint that realtors have, the people about realtors? Anybody know what the number one complaint is according to NAR? Never heard from my agent.
Yes.
They're paying you $20,000 to sell their house, you never call them. They hate that. Don't do that.
So do you just make a call and explain, or do you ever send anything? Is it just a phone call?
It's usually a phone call, just to tell them. And I know what's happening because we've had our morning meeting. So I've reviewed the sheet. I'm not just calling them saying, hey, how's your sale going? So
yeah.
Right.
No, you know.
Hey, just want to let you know, buyers did accept our credit for the repair, so they went ahead and removed their inspection contingency. We're just waiting on the loan contingency. After that, we're pretty much about 2 weeks out to the finish line. Hey, we're about 2 weeks into this transaction. How are you satisfied with their services so far? Anything we can do better to serve you better as a client?
Okay.
Which no one likes to ask that because it's scary.
No, I like that.
What if they're not happy with your services?
Okay, because I feel like we talk about it a lot in our office,
Yeah.
is reviews. asking for client reviews and asking for the referral.
Yeah.
And I feel like when you start it with a question like that, when you say, hey, is there anything we can do better? They say, no, we love your service. Then that kind of leads you there to say, well, if you don't mind or whatever, how do you ever do that?
Jackie, I'm so glad to hear you're satisfied with our services. We're really enjoying working with you. You're a fantastic client. Hey, can you think of anyone else you know who's looking to buy or sell a house right now? We've got some lofty goals we want to hit this year, and we're not quite there.
Okay. And they're like,
no, they're going to nobody. They're not going to have anybody, right?
Yeah, right.
But what are you going to do? What do you do? So this is why it's fun, right? What
Okay.
do you do when you call them next week? You ask them the same question.
So how do you do it? Go.
Hey, Jackie,
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember last week I asked if you could think of anyone who was looking to buy or sell a house, and you didn't have anybody. Have you thought of anyone since we spoke last week?
Okay.
Oh yeah, actually my brother's been shopping for a house for 2 years. Okay, great, right? But you have to train your client. They don't know, right?
Right.
They assume you're successful and great, and they don't need any client. They don't think you need the business. We all need the business. If you don't tell your client that, how are they going to know that?
Right.
So.
Yeah. Okay. I like that way. I feel like that's a struggle for most of us too. Is like, when do you ask for it? How do you ask for it? But leading it in that way of asking, how are we doing?
Yeah.
Is a great way to then say, oh, great. I'm glad you're glad.
And you got to be ready for arrows. You're going to get spears sometimes, right? Hey, Joe, I'm glad you asked that. I really am not happy. I asked people to take shoes off at my house, and the last agent who showed it on my cameras, they tracked a ton of mud through the house.
Ooh,
Jackie,
okay.
I am so sorry to hear that. Thank you for sharing that with me. I'm going to contact that agent and let them know. We're going to make sure that doesn't happen again. In fact, for all future showings, we're going to let agents know that this happened, and they absolutely need to make sure clients put on booties.
So this makes me think. Okay, so you said that you said every Tuesday morning.
I call every Tuesday. Yep.
Every Tuesday. So when you're having your buyer-seller consultation, walk me through that process of telling them, setting the expectations.
Yeah, I just say, Christina is very good at her job. She's boots on the ground. She's going to be the one scheduling and getting you into most of these homes for a buyer consult, right?
Right.
I will be available anytime when you have questions. You can call me anytime. These are my working hours. I work 8 to 5. If you have a question after hours, not a problem. Just let me know, right? Because some of our clients, right, if you're working with a physician and he's on shift, he's not going to call you in the middle of his surgery, right? He's going to call you when he's free. And the thing is, if you have a competent team, right, so my team is competent, clients don't really ask me questions because they ask Christina, and Christina answers the questions.
Right.
It's brilliant.
Okay. I like that. You said it straightforward.
And I tell them, I'm going to be contacting you every single week, Jackie. You're going to hear from me every Tuesday. And I also ask, do you have a communication preference? Some people do not want a phone call.
Right.
They don't. Joe, don't call me. Can you please just email me? Okay. I prefer calls because it's easier to ask for business on a phone call.
Yeah. Through a text, it gives them some time to think about it, though, at least.
It gives them time to ignore it. Yeah.
Okay. So I do have some questions about your goals moving forward. Are you wanting to grow Rita Shaw? What do you guys want to do?
Yeah. So my model's a little different, right? Keller Williams, I know a lot of team models. I think Keller seems to have the team model really dialed, right? Seems pretty dialed over here. We have a number of agents who work independently and kind of have their own book of business. I've got the popcorn section back there. Will's here, my associate broker, Zach. So, but I'm not in a position where I'm training people, right? So I don't think I offer a lot to a lot of newer agents coming on because it's like I'm focused on production, right?
Right.
A lot of brokers have like no interest in production. They don't want to sell at all. They don't want to go to appointments. For me, it's all about profitability, and I make more money selling houses than I do being a broker managing a team. It's just for me. Right?
100%, yeah.
So as far as growth targets, I honestly don't really care about like my units sold or my volume.
Okay.
The 3 numbers I track the most carefully is what did I actually net, right? What did I actually earn at the end of the year, right? How much money are my wife and I saving, right? So our savings goal, we target 20% a month of saving. And then how much money am I giving away?
So as far as
like donations, tithe, the whole thing, right? Those are the 3 metrics I'm the most concerned about, right?
Okay.
And I think in real estate, we fall in this trap where I'm on a team we got 75 guys on our team now. We closed 7 million units in this. And you look at someone's P&L and they didn't make any money because they spent so much money on crappy leads and advertising that didn't work. So I'm very, very, very focused on our profit and loss statement.
So speaking of crappy leads, have you ever purchased any leads?
Yeah, totally.
Okay.
Yeah, I love chasing the shiny objects.
Okay.
We all chase the shiny object. I don't currently purchase any leads.
Okay. So at the time, when you came back, I would say, right, in the last 3 years?
Yeah, I was on OpCity, Ojo, you name it. Yeah, we had them.
Okay. Yeah. And did you ever have any luck with those?
Yeah, sometimes. The conversion rate, you have to know if you're working internet leads, a good agent converts internet leads at 2 to 4%. Like a really good agent, right? And then agents are not good at what?
Call back, follow up.
We don't follow up, right? So if you have 100 internet leads, you should close 2 or 4 deals. Like it should do it. And I know there are Keller teams that kill it with like Zillow leads, so it can be done.
100%, yeah.
But I think with the trap we fall into is we don't track our metrics, right? So like I just killed 1 lead source this week because I was looking for a cut. I do real estate coaching with Core. Core's a national real estate coaching program. And it's a great program. It's not for everyone. It's very tough. But and my coach forced me, he's like, you need to find a cut in your P&L this week or I'm finding you $1,000. So what I did was I went back and looked at my referral exchange leads, and I figured out that in the last 3 years, I've spent $3,800 on the program access, and that's before they charge you 35% per close, right? And guess how many referral exchange leads I closed in the last 3 years?
None? I was going to say like 1,
None.
2? Oh my gosh.
So I was like, well, that's my cut right there. So
okay, you're like, that's easy.
Yeah. Now, some of you might, I mean, there's probably people in here who kill it with those, right? I mean, maybe, like, I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just saying it didn't make sense for me.
Yeah, no, I think if you're really focusing on that, and like you said, you're really paying attention and you're following up, they're great. But if you're not doing that and you have a good sphere and you have a good system, it sounds like set up. Otherwise, why spend the money? Okay, so let's kind of step away a little bit from real estate, and I want to ask you, when you're relaxing, because I feel like that's something that we don't do. I know I'm really bad about that. When you're like, okay, I need to step back from real estate, what do you like to do to recharge?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I go, like I said, it's funny because a lot of the relaxing and things I do are kind of the green time too, right? Like it's okay to be present. I try to go to my CrossFit gym like 3 days a week, right? I really enjoy that. It forces me out of the office at 5 too, right? Like I have to leave to get to a 5:30 class.
Right.
My wife and I are both pretty active. She's a super avid runner. We like to travel, right? Okay. So I think the best time to travel in real estate is holidays. It's like last year for Thanksgiving, we abandoned our whole family. We went to Germany for 10 days.
Smart.
Right? Guys, if you have clients that call you on Thanksgiving and they demand you answer the phone on Thanksgiving, make new clients.
Yeah.
So, but it's easier said than done because I have support, right? I have a team.
Right.
So I like traveling. We've got a big goofy dog. We like to take him out on walks and take him to the park and do that. I own a really old house that is a money pit, so I like to work on my money pit house.
Yes.
So
that's a good one.
Yeah, pretty active in community stuff, pretty active in our church. So we go to church on Sunday typically. I try not to work Sunday morning till like 12, 1 o'clock.
Oh, but you do work on Sundays?
Sometimes, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about what are you putting in your brain to help you? What books, what podcasts?
It's funny, I saw that question. I'm like, man, I was trying to some great answer of like, you guys got to read whatever. Like, I don't have it.
You don't? Okay.
But I do read the Wall Street Journal every day.
Okay.
So kind of higher level macroeconomic stuff, right? But there's a lot of good real estate pieces in the Wall Street Journal. I think it's helpful because when I'm sitting down with clients and I'm talking through like, what's the economic trend in the United States? If you read, everyone talks about rates. It's like, well, I read an article this morning in the Wall Street Journal about Fed forecast, and here's what we're expecting.
Right.
So
you're at least informed, and I'm sure you probably check the MLS and you do all that stuff too to keep informed and speak with your clients. And
yeah, totally. Oh yeah. So no, I do. Yeah, I track.
Oh my. Okay.
That's an easier way to do. The Wall Street Journal is like $60 a month. So
like you could just go on MLS.
No, every week.
Like, have you thought of the MLS?
Typically 2 or 3 days a week. I track. You can set up your little thing in the MLS. I look at every new listing in kind of all the main cities I work in.
Right.
So I look at everything. I also check close because I like to know what stuff closed for.
Yeah.
It just sounds smarter at a listing appointment. You're like, yeah, this one just closed for that. I saw this one close 2 weeks ago for this. Right. You sound informed.
Well, and it changes so often that it's like if you're not checking at least every couple of days.
Yeah.
And your client's like, well, that one just sold over there, and you're like, oh, it did it.
You know who has a great report? Is that gentleman right there. I like his. His is my favorite lender report.
Really?
Yeah. So the news that Franklin Loan Center's got a killer. You need to be on his list if you're not. They've got a killer thing they send out, and it's like all the big macro trends for cities, right?
Yeah.
So.
I'll pay you the $20 out.
40 broker. 40.
That put me on your VIP list.
Potentially. If you send me 2 leads a year, well.
All right, so I'm going to ask you one more question, and then we have some time to take some questions from the audience, if you don't mind.
Yeah,
that's okay.
See what we get here. So.
Okay, so my last question, I think it's very important for us all to kind of dial in on, is what drives you?
Ooh, I'm pretty competitive.
That's all.
Don't like losing.
Answer.
So I want to be. I don't know. I don't necessarily need to sell more houses than I currently sell, but I want to sell more houses than I currently sell.
Right.
So I give myself targets, right? So I
Okay.
have targets on how much income I want to earn in a year, basically. And you can, if you have an income target, you can back it out and you can figure out how many houses you have to sell, right? It's actually pretty simple math. So I make X thousand on a sale. I want to make X percent. My profitability is 50%. I need to sell X houses a year. So if I'm not hitting my targets, I don't know. It's not a great answer. I want to have a deeper answer.
No, I think that's good. And I think it's very interesting because some people focus on units or volume.
Yeah.
But I find for myself, when I focus on the net, on what I want my income to be, you're a little hungrier. You work a little harder to make sure you hit those targets.
Totally.
So I like that you said that.
Mm-hmm.
So
and I think if you ask any agent, would you like to close one house a year and make $1 million, or would you like to close 100 houses a year and make $100,000, right?
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
You start breaking it down.
Exactly, and then it kind of it helps you figure out where to spend your time as well.
Totally. Yeah.
So if you're just doing units and then you're closing like a bunch of tiny little units,
Yeah.
why not spread out a little bit and maybe not have as many units but have more income? You know.
Yeah. Focus on what you want to do too.
Yeah, I agree. So okay, guys, does anybody have any questions for Joseph?
I've got Will and Zach here, so if I need softballs, they will throw me softballs. So.
Is there any questions I missed? Anything that you really want to know?
Did I miss? I would love to ask if you could give one piece of advice to maybe a new or upcoming agent. Maybe they're not brand new, but we're in a market right now where business seems to be a little tougher to give. What one thing would you say that if they did daily or in their work, what piece of advice would you give them to help move their business forward?
That's a great question.
It's on my list too, and I forgot I didn't ask it.
A few things come to mind. First one is don't chase the shiny penny. I do this, guys. I chase the shiny penny, right? Everyone here gets these, hey, Joe, you get the text message. It's like, hey, are you interested in taking on 17 new leads for 15 guaranteed listings in Redlands, million plus, for a $10 fee? Like, it's a shiny penny, guys. It's not, right? I think don't chase the shiny penny and network. You have to network, right? I enjoy spending time with agents. I like going to trainings. I have friends who are agents who I talk to, right? With core coaching, I'm talking to agents every week. There's nothing wrong with spending time with and volunteering with agents, but you are not going to sell a real estate agent a house.
Right.
You're not. Right? I love golfing. I don't take Will golfing very much. Never going to sell Will a house. Will's a broker, right? We go sometimes because we're friends and we enjoy going, but it's not networking, right?
So since we've already done a little bit of a role play,
Yeah.
I want to, if you're approaching a person that you maybe don't know and you want to start a relationship with, a business relationship with, how would that go?
I almost never talk about business with people when I first meet them.
Okay.
Because they don't want to hear you talk about business, right?
No, yes, I agree.
Jackie, so nice to meet you. Are you from Redlands originally?
No, I'm not actually.
Where are you from?
I'm from San Bernardino.
Really? What part of San Bernardino?
North End.
Where'd you go to high school?
Cajon.
My dad used to teach at Cajon.
No.
Seriously, yeah.
Really?
After your time, though, because he was only there a few years, like when I was in high school, basically.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay.
How long have you guys been in Redlands for?
I actually live in Yucaipa, and we've been
Okay.
there about 7 years.
Did you work your realtor, right?
Yeah.
And you work at the Keller Williams office in Redlands?
I do.
Okay, cool. And you guys, do you have kids? Are you married?
I'm married, and I have 2 kids. Uh-huh.
Awesome. Okay, how old are your kids?
I have a 19-year-old today.
Oh, big kids.
Uh-huh. And I got a 10-year-old.
Awesome. Very cool. Well, it's so nice to meet you. I look forward to seeing you at whatever function we're at again in a week. Right?
Nice to meet you too.
Yeah. So I just get to know people, but you have to take notes and remember. And the next time I see you, hey, Jackie, how are your kids? How's your 19-year-old? What are they doing? Are they in college? Are they in summer? Right?
Right.
And then I'm building rapport.
What if they don't ask you though? So I feel like that's when if some people, I guess you just talk to the normal people who do ask you, what do you do? And how is that going? And
the advantage I have is I could have a conversation with a brick wall. But
okay.
You start to bring it up,
Okay.
I just find I'm always looking for ways to connect with people, right? Because we all want to connect, right? Everyone wants human interaction, right? So if you have kids, I don't have kids, but I can talk about my niece and my nephew, right? I have a dog, right? You went to Cajon, right? I found that right away, right? So I'm always digging for things to connect with.
Okay.
But going back kind of the broader networking is you need to network. You need to go out and meet people in other businesses and other trades. And
I like that.
Yeah.
And I like that you're not like, so here's my car. Like you're not trying to get right in there and sell them something.
Typically not. No. Okay. But I'm playing the long game.
Right.
Yeah.
Of course.
So.
And then do you do social media? Are you like friending people on Facebook?
Oh, we are so bad at social media. It's pathetic, honestly. Our social media is terrible. Don't go look at it. We're finally getting better at social media. I finally unlocked my Instagram. I like a private Instagram. So I took a bunch of stuff. It's the Air Force in me back in the day.
Okay, yeah, I was going to say, you should not have to be private. You should be public.
And I made it more like kosher of just,
yes.
So yeah, I do try to friend all my past clients on social media now.
Okay.
But I do post real estate content, but most of what I do is I post it on the business page and I tag myself.
Yes.
I post some real estate content, but I feel like I don't know, I need to do better at social media is really what it goes down to.
Okay.
But yeah, I do add people and I tag them in things and all that.
Okay. Yeah, I feel like that's because like you said, don't chase the shiny penny. And I always say like, do what's free. Do your free stuff first. Phone calls are free. Social media is free.
Yeah, I don't think it's bad. I think social media, I know agents who crush it with social media, just absolutely kill it on like Instagram leads and TikTok. I don't. It's not my thing.
Okay.
I would love to, right? Like I would love to add 15 transactions a year because we're doing good at social media, but we're just not.
So are you guys not doing Facebook ads or anything like that either?
No, we don't do any ad spend on social media. Actually, that's not true. We occasionally, if I have a client who's like really adamant about like how many view counts we're going to get on something, we'll make a reel on Instagram and you can throw $40 at Meta and you'll get like 15,000 views or something.
Interesting. So you do have clients that are like, what are your views looking like?
Very few.
Okay.
Very few.
I've never come across any yet.
Almost never. But yeah, I can show them, or sometimes if a house isn't selling because it's price and everybody knows it's price, but you've told them it's price, but they're not. I can at least throw more ad spend at something. We use YLOPO. So you might be familiar with YLOPO.
Yeah.
Backs up with Follow Up Boss. So I can throw $200 of ad spend and I can show the client like, hey, the property has gotten X bazillion views, right? According to all the metrics, your property is getting more views than any other property and we are still not getting any showings. This tells me that it's not marketing its price.
Right.
Because everybody's had a client say that, right? You need to market this property better.
Right.
It's $100,000 overpriced. Yes.
I have a question about your weekly updates for your clients.
Sure.
So on Tuesday, because I have tried this and I have failed miserably.
Yeah. Easier said than done though, for sure. Yeah.
What?
It's easier said than done for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So do you have any tips on when something's like if I wait until like once a week, sometimes in a transaction, I don't have that time and I don't have a team per se to follow up on that. Like, hey, this request for repairs just came in, like the timeline, say it's 21-day escrow, whatever it is, right? I need to know now and update them.
Yeah.
That's where I lose that 1 day a week, or even if I did 3 days a week, like with some of my clients, we're like everyday talkers.
Totally.
So do you have any tips on that, on how to begin?
Yeah, and I don't think it doesn't have to be like a once a week update, right? And I do talk to a lot of clients more than once a week, right? Like we've got this escrow going right now over in Highland, and nice house, priced right, 9 offers on this house, which is like none of our listings are getting 9 offers right now, right? I'm on the 3rd escrow. So this sucker canceled twice, and both times was really shady stuff on the back end. So the client is like, what is wrong, right? Yeah. So that client, I'm telling them every time something happens, right? I met the appraiser personally yesterday. I'm texting her at the house. Hey, meeting the appraiser now. Everything's going well. We should be good on appraisal, right? So it's okay to update clients more. For me, the once a week rule is I make sure I haven't forgotten about them.
Right.
And I think what it really gets us is you have that listing that hasn't sold for a few weeks, and they're just kind of like, what's my agent?
Yes, 100%. Yeah.
So maybe it's like just putting it on the calendar no matter what. If I talk to them 17 times during the week, totally fine, but make sure still reaching out on that Tuesday to get that ingrained.
Yeah, totally.
For the ones that you do not talk like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And like I have a client today, I texted. I didn't call her because I talked to her for like 15 minutes yesterday about a response for, I still try to negotiate the contracts as much as I can. Christina's very good at it, but I like negotiating. So, so I didn't need to call her again on Tuesday. And I know she didn't really want me to call her because we talked a long time yesterday. Just, hey, Judy, everything's good on the file. No updates since yesterday. Please let me know if you have any cues, right? She just liked it. Good. So.
What are some of your primary lead sources other than past client?
I think open house, if you do it right, is a good source of leads. I don't think a lot of agents do it right. I think open house, you got to be consistent, right? I got a great buyer lead a couple weeks ago because I just sat 3 open houses in a row, and the same lady walked into all my open houses, and I remembered her name. I was like, hey, what are you doing this weekend? I'm like, I can show you houses that aren't open, right? She's like, what? Yeah, I can. Yeah, let's do a consult, right? Schedule a consult, right? So open house is something I'm tapping a little harder. So.
So a few questions with open houses. How many sign-ins do you recommend? Do you do sign-in sheets? How do you do it?
I do digital sign-in because we have YLOPO. So they tap in and it automatically loads them in my CRM, which is really easy. And I pretty much make people sign into open house.
So like hand them an iPad?
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Or you got to be really bold. Thank you for calling. What's your first name?
Right.
Awesome. What's your last name? Okay. And what's your phone number, Jackie?
Okay.
Great. What's a good email address for you, Jackie?
Okay. And you're typing it in, or you're writing it down, or what are you doing?
Typing it in my iPad.
Okay. Gotcha.
People aren't going to lie to you if they're looking at your face. When they were signing in, SeymourButts@gmail.com. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right? But you got to follow up, and you got to know what you're doing.
Okay, that's what I was going to say, because you say most people don't do open houses right. How do you do it right? What do you tell us how to do it right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I think being available and being engaged is one, and I think most agents do a fine job at open house. But why are you sitting open house? Are you sitting it for exposure for the listing, or that's part of it, right? Are you sitting it to sell the house, right? So I make people give me their contact information, and I actually follow up with them after they come. Right. And if someone says, hey, I have an agent, I really don't want to talk to you, that's fine. I'm not going to call them if they tell me not to call them. Trying to think, what do I do at open house that works really well? Now that I said that.
Well, following up. I mean, like you said, you have to get that good contact information. You have to follow up.
I asked for feedback on the way out. Hey, Jackie, thank you so much for coming. If you don't mind, when you leave, I'll stop you on the door. I'd like to get some feedback provided to the sellers, right?
Okay.
So you leave and you come back. Jackie, thank you again for coming. What do you think of this property? Is this the one for you guys? You're going to say no, right? Obviously, you're going to say no. Well,
I'm just looking.
I understand. Hey, I totally get it. Hey, what about this house would have made it the perfect house for you? Like, what does this house have that you're missing?
Okay.
And you say, well, we really want a 3-car garage. Hey, you know what I'll do? Here's what I'm going to do. I'm not working the rest of the day after this open house. I'm going home, spend some time with the wife. But I'm going to call you Monday or Tuesday, and I'm going to let you know if I see something similar, okay?
Okay.
And you don't expect a phone call because agents don't follow up, right? So what do I do? I sit down on Monday morning and I review my open house leads that are in the lead tracker, right? And I have notes. And I'm going to call Jackie on Tuesday and say, hey, Jackie, just want to give you a heads up. She's not going to answer the phone, right? Just want to give you a heads up. We found something very similar with a 3-car garage. Give me a call. I want to tell you about it, right?
So I'm really good about following up with my leads, but I think what you're doing differently that I like, and I'm going to integrate, is you're letting them know, like, I'm going to call you.
Yeah.
And you said you like this, and this. I'm going to call you about that.
Yeah.
So you're setting that expectation first. So now you're not just calling like a random person calling. Like they kind of expected it.
Yeah.
Sort of. I mean, like, if it's not crazy to them that you're calling.
And I don't remember all this stuff. I put it in my CRM. Like, I don't remember this. Like, I make my tracker for like what I do in a week. So it's part of my coaching. If I don't do this, I get fined if I don't do it, right? I've got minimum 15 face-to-face with a week, right? So a face-to-face doesn't have to be a listing appointment. It can be running into someone and chatting about business. I try to break bread with someone 4 or 5 times a week minimum. That can be coffee, tea, beer, whatever. And it can be multiple people at once for me, right? Like if I take two groups of past clients to dinner, all 6 of us go to dinner, that counts. And I try to have minimum outbound calls of 80 calls a week.
Okay. 80 calls a week.
Minimum, yeah. And then I write 20 thank you cards a week, handwritten.
Do you
actually
do it though?
Yes, it's terrible.
Okay.
Christine and I are always looking for things to write thank you cards too. But it's actually pretty easy once you start doing it. Like if I had a listing appointment, they're getting a thank you card. Come in for a buyer consult, you're getting a thank you card, right? Guy called me today about something that has nothing to do with real estate. I'm really involved with Family Service Association. He's trying to donate some stuff to Family Services. Mm-hmm. Wrote him a thank you card. It's not a branded card. Has nothing to do with real estate. It's just, hey, thank you again for your willingness to donate. Super appreciate it. Reach out if you need anything. So.
And you have addresses for all that?
Yep.
Okay.
Or you have passport. Okay. Right. Well, call your title person. I'll get you your address.
Oh, yeah. That's a good idea too. Okay. Yeah. Anybody else have any more questions for Joe?
Did he answer your question? You were asking about number of signs.
How many signs?
I'm not. I think signs are good because I know agents who do a ton of signs and they like get great traction on it. Maybe I'm lazy. I don't know. I only put up like 3 to 5 signs. But I've also
gotta hire the service.
Yeah, the service is good. Yeah.
Gotta call.
Yeah. I mean, signs are good. It's free advertising, right? So I should put up more signs. So.
All your clients around the whole house, do you give them some freedom to depend how they walk and how friendly they are, or?
If someone walks in the open house, I'm typically like, hey, thank you so much for the open house. My name's Joe. I'm the listing broker. So excited you guys can come check this out. Let me tell you a few great things about this house. Okay, this is a 1925 Mediterranean revival. It was built by the Harris family in 25. Rewire was done about 3 years ago. It's got a new roof. Killer yard, about a ½ acre back. Everything's opened up for you guys. All I ask is, if you wouldn't mind on the way out, would you mind checking in with me so I can provide some feedback to the sellers? And they almost always do. I mean, someone will sneak out the back door occasionally, but whatever. But, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes.
With your buyers, are you guys doing the buyer broker agreement?
Am I allowed to talk about that? with another brokerage.
And you're on camera.
Yeah, I don't know what I'm allowed to talk about.
Yeah.
That's a great question.
I wouldn't.
Yeah, what I'll tell you is we've done buyer consults for the last year, but buyer consults will save you a ton of time anyways because it weeds out. We had a lady, Christina and I were taking bets on this lady. We still get internet leads occasionally, right? She called in and she wanted us to run out and show her houses. Okay, well, why don't we schedule a consultation so we can figure out what you want? Well, we're really ready to look at houses. We don't really want to do a consultation. Sure enough, she canceled. So we rescheduled and she canceled again, right? Like, how serious is that buyer?
Right.
If they won't sit down with me for 30 minutes and explain to me what they want, do I really need to go open 15 doors for them on a Tuesday afternoon?
Yep.
No. Yeah.
Jerry?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you first for coming over to Keller Williams.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You sound very focused. You sound like a Keller Williams agent.
Jerry's gonna get you.
It's good. Teresa. What did you pay him to say that?
It was $100 Chris Newbill.
Oh, okay. There we go. So,
I really meant that.
well, I appreciate it. Thank you, Jerry. Yeah.
Thank you for coming over. As a seasoned agent, I came 5 minutes late, so I didn't know how long you've been in the business, but you sound like you're a very experienced person that is so focused. If you have it, do you have one thing that discourages you the most?
Yeah.
And how do you refresh yourself? And I know that you always win afterwards, but
Sometimes I lose them. I lose listings too. You know, everybody does.
How do you overcome? Because when you are successful, you have a very high standard.
Mm-hmm.
When you feel like you're at the deepest valley, it's very interesting how a seasoned agent climb up and get that spot again.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think the most discouraging thing for me in the industry is the reality is a lot of people just do not respect us or our time, right? You know, everyone's trashing online about what agents do and don't do, and they have no idea what you do during a day, right? They don't know the value you bring, right? And yeah, some transactions feel really easy, and some transactions we work super hard, right, for our clients, you know? I think the hardest for me is if I've done a lot of work and prep for somebody for like a long period of time, and then they just ghost me. And right, it's okay if you work with somebody else, but at least have the common courtesy, you know, to say, hey, Joe, thank you for putting many hours into this. You know, my cousin has his license, so we're gonna work with him. Thanks for the information. So I think that's probably the biggest thing for me is when people just blatantly disrespect our time. You know, business people don't do this. People who we work with who are in business, they don't do this. It's just a typical consumer. Yeah. And sometimes I just have to disconnect. I just have to get out of it, right? I just have to leave the office for a little bit. So.
How long do you kind of milk that and get back to almost like, okay, I'll move on, I'll proceed?
Yeah, I can't think of a time where it hasn't been. I mean, for me, it's just going to the gym or something. I just had to get out of the office, go ride my bikes, do something, right? I'm just like, this sucks. I don't want to be here. But, you know, I think I try to look at it as like, for that scenario, like everything happens for a reason. Mm-hmm. Some things are outside of our control. So.
And your deepest value are always related to real estate. I'm talking about in general.
In general?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, for me, it's physical well-being and health. My faith plays a big part in it for me, right? And to everyone, whatever you believe, right? For me, my faith values are a big part of it. Like I believe that things happen for a reason sometimes. So I spend time praying. If you don't pray, you meditate maybe, but that's a big part of it for me. And I just accept there are things I cannot change. So. Yeah, it sucks. Some days are terrible. Some days are great in our industry and some days are awful. So It's not like every day. I know I'm a sales guy. I'm selling how great we are. There are days where we're just like, what did we do all day? Yeah. Nothing got done. Yeah. We didn't make any of the calls. I lost 2 listing appointments. Like this, it sucks, you know? So I lost one last week. A guy, you know, we did hours and hours of prep for this guy. I had a 10 o'clock appointment. He calls me, hey, I signed with the 9 o'clock agent. Cool. Like it happens to me too, guys. It's not, everyone deals with this, you know? Just like, thanks, dude. I'm glad I worked on this for 3 hours on Sunday.
Yeah.
So everyone's. It doesn't matter how many houses you sell, you're affected by this. So, yeah.
Tim?
I have a question. With the open houses, you said that you call them. You don't expect them to answer after you set the expectation.
Yeah.
You call them on Tuesday. You leave a voicemail, right?
I always leave a hook. You got a hook. You're in sales. You have the hook, right? Yes. The hook is.
So you call you back.
You don't call them and say, hey, I want to tell you about this house on 1234 Main Street. Here's the listing agent's phone number.
Yeah.
Or if you text, hey, you know, And you got to be careful if you're prepping a listing, because we can't market off market listings, right? You got to be really careful.
Right.
But you can say, hey, I might have something coming up. I've got listings coming up. Give me a call back. I want to make sure I've got you dialed. Or if it's the easiest thing is just to pick a house, right? You wanted a 3-car garage. Here's a great house for 3. Hey, I found a perfect house for you guys. Give me a call. You got to text them too. Hey, left you a VM. Got the perfect house for you guys based on what we talked about. Are you free today at 2:00 for a call? Yeah. So I leave a hook and I always ask a question.
And then they don't answer. You leave the voicemail. You leave the hook. You leave the text. Are you just following up again the following week?
13 touches. I typically do 13 to 15 touches. If they don't respond after 13 to 15 touches, they don't want to talk to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
How long would you space that out for? 13, 15?
If they're brand new, I try to hit them. Yeah, I mean, once or twice a day.
Well, once or twice a day?
Like maybe daily is
Okay.
the absolute most
Daily.
if it's a really hot lead.
Okay,
But sometimes it's slow burn. I kind of gauge it based on the lead, like the vibe I picked up from the lead.
right.
So sometimes it's like months,
Okay.
I cycle my CRM is set up with hot, warm, and cold. So my hots list comes up on people I need to call, and that's once a week they need to touch.
Okay.
My warm list is once every 2 weeks, and my colds list is they're only hearing from me about once a month.
Okay.
Yeah.
And like you said, that's simply based on like the first conversation you had with them.
Yeah, and I'm constantly changing their stage.
Okay.
So if you call me, Joe, I know I called you. I know I filled out 14 questions on your website, but I don't really want to talk to you about real estate. Thanks for calling me.
Right.
Hey, no problem. How far out are you guys? Oh, we're probably at least 40,000 years out.
Okay.
Okay. So I put you in cold, and then I call you a month later, and I have all these notes, right? Hey, Jackie, I know we spoke. You said you're about, you don't want to buy a house until hell freezes over. But how's everything going? Actually, we went to an open house last weekend, and then,
Right.
boom, I move them up to warm.
Okay.
Right.
Right.
So
you got the clicker ready? You're like ready
I
to
just
click
boom,
them,
boom, boom. Yeah.
warm or
It
cold?
doesn't always work. I had one yesterday where I had been talking to this lady for like 3 years, and I finally called her, and but I had her in cold too long. She's like, "Oh, I'm so glad you called. We found a great listing agent for our house." It's like, okay. Hey, I hope she takes. It's okay. It happens. Like,
That's
hey,
what-
hope she takes great care of you.
Yeah.
So,
Jerry, that's what makes me mad. When your lead was not as cold as you thought.
Yeah, it happens to everybody, guys. You can't win them all. So.
What's your take? Could you expand on what you explained to Jerry as far as the value that you bring? Like, I'm dealing with for sale by owners. A lot of them fail to see what is it that we're going to do that they cannot do.
Yeah, I think for a lot of people, a for sale by owner is probably, I don't chase FSBOs, I never have, right? But people have a lot of success with it. I think what they're looking for is bottom line, right? Hey, what's your name? I'm sorry. Pavel. Hey, Pavel Robel, I'm sorry. Pavel, I totally understand, completely respect you want to sell it yourself. I get that. What is your motivation for doing so, right? And what's their answer always going to be? I don't want to pay commission.
Right.
And then if you can show them the value, but hey, look at this, you're probably going to net this. What if I could net you despite paying commissions, which we're not going to talk about because I'm a licensed broker with a different company. So despite paying commissions, what if I could net you this much, right? That's the hook, I think, right? It's just you have to show them that what you're going to do. But value proposition is a great conversation. It's probably a whole nother conversation.
Yeah.
Right. We spend a lot of time working on our value proposition. So.
Yeah, and that's individual for everybody. Like, what do you offer?
Yeah, like what do you bring to the table?
Right.
To follow up on the question I asked earlier, you said that you call weekly. Audrey asked earlier, you call weekly. If they do have a referral and they do give you that referral, the following week, are you asking the same thing again? Are you asking for
Well, I
referral?
update them on the referral they gave me for sure.
Okay.
So, and I always ask you want them to introduce you to the referral, right? Hey, that's so great. Would you mind setting up a text message between me and your brother? I hate cold calling. So I just asked for business, right? And then it's not a cold call. Hey, Mark, this is Joe. Your brother Steve told me you're shopping for a house. I'm his real estate broker. How are you doing? Yeah, man, I'd love to sit down and do a consult with you and learn more. It's not a cold call, right? Brother gave me the number. And then when I call Steve back, hey, Steve, everything's going great on your sale, yada, yada. Hey, thank you so much for referring Mark to me. And I actually send thank you gifts to anyone who sends me referrals. Mm-hmm.
More in and out?
A lot of In-N-Out cards, actually. How much money have we spent on In-N-Out gift cards this month? $200 this month so far on In-N-Out gift cards.
How many times have you been fined by your court?
Oh, I've paid a lot of money in core fines. So the coaching program I'm in core, it's not for everybody, but if you like this style of like discipline, boom, 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 boom. Part of the higher levels of core training, it's fine structure. So they find you have goals and targets. If you aren't hitting your goals and targets, you're literally paying. It goes to charities, but you're literally paying money. every month. So like last week I didn't get a deal I was supposed to get, so I paid a $2,500 fine.
Wow.
So,
And you
yeah.
train as well, or you coach?
I don't coach, no.
Not at that level?
No, I'm being coached. Yeah. I'm really into, I try to spend a lot of time around people who are better at this than I am and have more money than me. And the coaches in core are all, anyone who's coaching in that program at their level 3 is netting minimum $1 million a year. So like they're just really good at this, and they pour into me as far as how to actually run a business, right?
That sounds like a little bit military-ish too, the way they run that, where there's, you know, you have your goals and your consequences, and you know, so that kind of probably feeds into your background a little bit.
I think coaching is great. I don't think the coaching I do is for everybody. I think
Right.
coaching is really important though, right? Especially if you're new, because you got to learn how to do this.
Right.
So.
Yeah, I agree. Regina's my coach.
Yeah, exactly. You need someone, like, because who's keeping you accountable in our industry?
Right.
Right? Like, I technically own the business. Nobody keeps me accountable. I could not do any of this, and I would just not make as much money. But I would rather do a better job at my job.
Right.
So.
Right. Anybody else? Any other questions?
Thank you. I really just want to say thank you.
Me too.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's it for today, guys. Thank you, Joe, for coming.
Thank you, Jackie.
We really appreciate it. That was an excellent interview.
Yeah.